This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, great. Okay, Shalom Aleichem. Good evening, everyone. Bruchim Abam. Welcome to the first Purim Shiur of Tafshin Pei Aleph. Tonight's Shiur, the Shiurim on Sefer Shemais, are sponsored by the Zakheim family, Loi Nishmas, their husband and father, Shlomo Eliezer ben Harav, Yaakov Zakheim, Zechronim Levracha, Shem Shem Aliyah, Shvil Me'at Yosher for Som Mishpacha, Ad Bias Goyal Tzedek. Also, tonight's Shiur and the Shiurim on Shemais are co-sponsored by the Israeli family, Loi Nishmas Meir ben David, L'chayil Maba, Tzei Menuchasai Eden, Ad Bias Goyal Tzedek. And also, tonight's Shiur is sponsored by the Justman family, by Rabbi Yamin Justman V'rayasai, for the yahrzeit of his mother, Yocheved Rivka Bas Harav Yitzchak Meir. The yahrzeit is Rosh Chodesh Adar. All of Neshama should have an aliyah, should be Melitza Yesharim for all their families, for Simchas Hanachas, Ad Bias Goyal Tzedek. That was the best part of the Shiur. Everybody's interested in that part. No, just joking. Okay, so here we come. Also, this is also a very important part of the Shiur, and now that Purim is almost here, get your Magid Harakia on Purim. You could go to the new website, rabbidg.com, and free delivery in the United States of America. But the good news is also that tonight's Shiur is brand new, exciting material that was never yet shiured publicly. So Baruch Hashem, you will be the first, and maybe it will make it into the next edition of the Purim Sefer. So I was reading the Parsha, and there was a phrase in the Parsha that really caught my attention because I thought I had seen it before. It sounded something similar to Megillas Esther. So let's start with the Megillah. The Pasuk says in Megillah, in Parak Ches Pasuk Zayin, Achashverosh is trying to explain to Esther and to Mordechai why Haman was hanged. Vayomer Hamelech Achashverosh Esther Hamalka Ulamordechai HaYehudi. And the king Achashverosh said to Queen Esther and to Mordechai the Jew, Hine Eves Haman nosati li Esther. Behold, Haman's house is given to Esther. Ve'oisai talu al ha'etz, and he is hung on a tree. Ahal asher shalach yadai ba'Yehudim, because he sent forth his hand against the Jews. Now, question number one is, the word Yehudim is spelled with two yuds. So, I'll tell you the truth. That wasn't my starting question, because you can't ask a question if you don't know what the answer is going to be. You only ask questions that you know you could answer. But now that I know that maybe we'll be able to answer it, let's ask, why are there two yuds in the word Ba Yehudim, as if it's written Ba Yehudiyim? No bunim. You never hear of Yehudiyim? What are Yehudiyim? You ever heard of such a thing? All right. Good. That's the right answer. What in the world are Yehudiyim? So, okay, he could come back. You know, he's good. So, why does it have an extra yud in the word Yehudim? But furthermore, the word Shalach Yadai is a very specific word. Shalach Yadai means to send forth your yad, your hand. Azriel, you have a yad here? Yeah. He happens to have a yad, I know. Watch this. Thank you. So it says that Haman was hanged because he sent forth his hand against the Yehudim. No, he didn't. He wanted to. Shalach yad means to misappropriate, as we're going to see in this week's Parsha. It's a specific halachic term. Haman didn't do anything to the Jews. What did Haman do to the Jews? He made a lottery. He plotted to kill us, and it was thwarted. Right? He didn't do anything. He tried to do, he planned to do, but he didn't carry it out. So why does the pasuk say, Asher Shalach Yadoi? Shlichus Yad is a very specific terminology. First of all, let's look in number 2. Number 2 is, raise your hand if you were ever a shomer sachar. If you're ever hired to watch something for somebody. Somebody said, came over to you, Rebbi, he said, I want to pay you $1,000. I want you to watch my pet tiger. Okay, then that never happened? Never. I don't know, think hard. So you're being paid to watch something for somebody, and the guy comes back from vacation, and he says, "Where's Tiger?" You say, "It was stolen." Stolen? So you're chayiv. A shomer sachar is chayiv. But what if you say, no, it wasn't stolen? You know, the UAE the other day landed or orbited in Mars. So you say, you know what happened? A few aliens came down from Mars, and they stole your tiger, and it was an oinus, and they hijacked him. They kidnapped the tiger, and they brought it to outer space. So that's something beyond your control. You're not chayiv for that. So now you need to swear. You're off the hook as long as you didn't use the item. If you misappropriated the item, if you use the item, then you're chayiv for anything that happens. You're chayiv for oinsem. However, as long as you swear, shvuas Hashem tia bein shneim, the shvua of God will be among all of them, between the two of them. Im lo shalach yadai, if you did not send forth your hand, that's them. They're calling you from outer space. Im lo shalach yadai v'mlachas re'eu, if you did not send forth your hand in the item of your friend. So basically the halacha is like this. A shomer does not have full responsibility. For example, shomer chinam is pater if something is stolen. Shomer sachar is pater if something anoinus happened. The only thing is he has to swear that he was lo shalach yadai b'melachas re'ehu, that you didn't misappropriate, you didn't use the item of your friend. Now there's an interesting machlokes between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, halacha and Bava Metzia. Let's say you planned on being sholeach yad in the item, but you didn't actually do it. You thought to do it. You had a machshava to do it, but you didn't actually do it. So the Mishnah says in Bava Metzia daf mem gimel amud beis, hachoyshev l'shleach yad b'pikadon, one who plans on misappropriating a deposit. Beis Shammai says chayiv, but Beis Hillel says you're pater. So according to Beis Shammai, if you merely think you're going to misappropriate and you don't, and then an oinus happens, you're chayiv because you planned on using it. By the way, Rashi and Tosfos says it doesn't mean you thought, it means you actually articulated that you were going to. And Beis Hillel is of the opinion you're not chayiv until you actually misappropriate.
But he would actually admit to that. No one's going to admit to that.
So he has to swear he didn't do it. Now, somebody might not admit, but they're not going to swear falsely that they didn't do it, right? And what?
If someone's going to misappropriate a deposit, for something, if he goes before a court, I'm sure he doesn't really care if he tells them, oh, by the way, I was planning on doing
a shvua, basically, we really scare the living daylights out of somebody before they make an oath and say, you're going to destroy the world, you're going to destroy yourself. We make them hold the Sefer Torah. So not every crook is willing to swear falsely. Most, we give severe repercussions, and we really make it a very frightening experience. So according to Beis Shammai, it's enough to think to be sholeach yad. According to Beis Hillel, you have to actually use the item. Now, there's another machlokes. When you use the item, do you have to use it in a way where you cause a loss to the item, or even if you just use it and you don't cause a loss to the item? We paskin that you need to use it in a way, not only is it not enough to think to use an item, not only is it not enough to use the item, you have to use it in a way that you cause a loss to the item, and then and only then are you chayiv on things that you ordinarily would have been pater on. So the question, and this question is raised by Rav Shlomo Kluger, and we'll see others, is that why when it comes to Haman, the Megillah uses a very specific halachic terminology. Why is Haman hanged? Because he was sholeach yad in the Jewish people. He used the Jews. He harmed the Jews. No, he didn't. He wanted to. He wanted to. It should say, Al asher bikshu l'shloyach yad by Yehudim. Why does it say he did? That's the question of Reb Shlomo Kluger in the Kehilas Yaakov, in his Chidushei Agados Masechta Megillah, Chelek Ches, Parsha Shkolim, Zachar, Purim, page 537, in case you only got up to page 536. So it's on page 537. Now, he asks, first of all, Shlichus Yad, you need to do it. You can't plan on doing it. Second of all, it needs chisaron. You have to cause a loss in the item. Haman didn't cause us any harm, any damage. He just tried to. By the way, this question is also raised in the Sefer Shemen Roish of Rav Asher Anshel Katz, who is a fine Jew who who I never met, nor do I know anything about. He wrote a Sefer Shem and Rosh, and he wants to know, Haman was loy shalach yadai by Yehudim. He did not misappropriate us. He did not harm us. He wanted to. So you'll say, maybe that's what it means he wanted to. Oh, wait a second. Let's go back to the Chevra, big son and Seresh. Big son and Seresh. Azriel thinks he's going to sit in the corner. I'm not going to notice that he's there. No. We know where you are. Big son and Seresh. What happened to them, Azriel? They died. Yes, how did they die? They were hanged. They hung them on a tree. Why? So the pasuk says in number 4, Parak Vav, pasuk Beis, Shnei Sarisei HaMelech Mishaymei Asaf Asher Bikshu L'Shloya. They wanted to. So here it says it straight up. It says the truth. When it says somebody hurt someone, it says they hurt them. When it says they wanted to, it says Asher Bikshu L'Shloyach Yad. So what's going on over here? Why by Big Son V'Seresh it says they wanted to be Shloyach Yad, and by Haman, no, he was Sholach Yad. So now we have a minhag already for many years, I think going back like 10 years already, that in the Shiurim before Purim, we like to give a shiur from the great Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshutz. Every year we have an annual Purim Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshutz shiur. So this year we have to continue our holy tradition, and it's not easy finding new material every year. But Baruch Hashem, the Torah is Aruka Me'eretz Mida or Chava Minayam. It's longer than the earth, wider than the sea. So here's an interesting question. Take a look at number 7. Ba Chodesh Rishonu Chodesh Nisan, on the first month, which is Nisan. Bishna Shtei Mesrei, in the 12th year. La Melech Achashverosh, of King Achashverosh, he pale poor. Hu Hagoyra Lifnei Haman, he cast a lot. Miyayim Liyayim Umechodesh, the Chodesh Neimasaru, Chodesh Adar, from day to day and month to month. Haman made a lottery. You ever hear of lotto? Not really kedai to play lotto, They say you have a better chance of, getting struck by thunder and lightning, But depends if you have good mazel. Yeah, you got to be in it to win it, right? So Haman made 2 lots. Miyoim liyoim umechodesh lechodesh. What is the meaning of this? From day to day and month to month. I mean, didn't he take off his black hat? No, Mustama Haman wore a black hat that he got in the Borsellino store. And he took off the hat and he put in 365 tzetlach. Said the first day, the second day, the third, and they picked out. So what's miyoim liyoim lechodesh lechodesh? I mean, he's trying to choose which day to kill the Jews. Why these miyoim? And then later on in the Megillah it says al kein karu la yamim ha'ela furim al shem hapur. Therefore, these days are called Furim because of the lot, the poor. Now, if the name of the holiday is because of the poor, it should be called Poor, which would be a good name for the holiday, considering that they're the ones who enjoy it the most. They get free food, free money, everyone's showering them. It should be called Poor. Why would it be called Furim? These are the 2 questions of Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshutz. What's miyoim liyoim umechodesh lechodesh? And what's Furim, the 2 lots? So Rabbi Yonasan says the 2 questions answer each other. Haman made 2 lots. First he chose the day. First day of the month, second day of the month, third day of the month. He had a hat. He had a black hat for Shabbos that he put in 30 tzetlach. And then he had a navy blue hat for the Vach. He had a blue weekday hat, mustama with a feather. It was a little bit triangular. And on that hat, there were 12 tzetlach, and it said Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz through Adar. So first he could have picked 17, 3, 1, 19, 29, and then he could have picked 1 through 12. So that's miyoim liyoim umechodesh lechodesh. And that's why it's called Furim, because there were 2 lots, yeah? But says Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshutz, I mean, that's ridiculous. Imagine, what exactly is the compelling nature of such a lottery? You got to pick one day, and you got to pick 1 month. So, I mean, it's like, remember when Yoshua said to Achan, okay, we're going to decide who stole from the booty by making a lot. And whoever's name came up, we're going to kill him. So Achan said, I have a great idea. I'll make a lot between you and Elazar HaKohen, and whoever I pick out, I'll kill them. How do you like that, Yoshua? I mean, obviously, a lot in and of itself is absurd. Oh, let's kill, I mean, one day has to come up, but what's the indication that there's something special about that day? I mean, Achashverosh is going to go for that. Here, imagine. Haman comes, Achashverosh, I have divine endorsement that this is the day to kill the Jews. How's that, Haman? Because I picked it out of a hat. Ooh, wow, that's a very compelling way to know when God wants you to kill the Jews. I mean, that's the most random way you could possibly choose something. Imagine if I come to you and say, Muva. Now I have to move somewhere, or something like that. Eitzel. Next to, who am I moving next to? Echad, one person. So I have to move next to one person. Wow, that's a very good mahalach in life, to randomly pick things out of a hat. Anybody who operates that way is clearly insane. So, I mean, what exactly is the compelling nature of Haman's lot? Says Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshutz, no. That is not what Haman did. Haman had 2 hats. Again, he doesn't say hats, it could have been 2 boxes, but Haman had 2 hats. In hat number 1, there were days. And the days were numbered 1 to 354. In hat number 2, there were months, and they were numbered 1 through 12. Says Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshutz, if in hat number 1, Haman picks out the number 100, and in hat number 2, he picks out Adar, Adar is going to be days 324 to 354. If he picks out day 100, the days and the months are contradicting each other. So obviously, the system is faulty. The divine endorsement is if Haman has the good mazel that the day he picks out fits into the month that he picks out. In other words, day 1 through 30 will only fit into Nisan. 31 through 60 would be Iyar. 60 through 90 would be Sivan. So that Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshutz says if you would have picked day 100 and Adar, obviously nothing going on over here. But if he picks, let's say, day 340 and Adar, he's got something cooking over here. Obviously, it's being divinely endorsed. So if the day and the month fit in with each other, that's why it says miyoim liyoim u'mechodesh lechodesh. These are the 2 lots, and this was the compelling nature of the lots. So again, Haman, in his first lottery, he picked out how many days in the lunar calendar? 354, right? And they're 12 months. So, comes the Shvilei Pinchas, and this is real classic Shvilei Pinchas territory. And I'll tell you the truth, I have to give a lot of credit to Shvilei Pinchas, because the way he approached it, I'm going to approach it the complete opposite, but I never would have thought of it had I not seen what he said. And that is, he says like this, that the Haman was making a lottery, and clearly, according to Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshutz, there were not 365 days in the possibilities. He was not making a lottery based on the solar calendar. Yonasan Eibeshutz says clearly it was going based on the lunar calendar, right? But he was using the Jewish calendar. However, says Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshutz, however, says the Shvilei Pinchas, when Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshutz says if it would have landed out on day 100, that's a contradiction to the month of Adar, because day 100 is in Chodesh Tammuz. That's not what Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshutz means. Because that would mean the way the lottery worked is Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz, by the order of the Jewish months. And we all know that even though Nisan is the first month, but the beginning of the year is Tishrei. So day 100 would be Tishrei, Cheshvan, Kislev, Teves. And day 340 would then be in Elul, not in Adar. And therefore, says Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshutz, in his opinion, Haman started the count on day 1 was Rosh Hashanah. And it fell out on Yud Gimel Adar. So let's make a cheshvan. Tishrei, Cheshvan, Kislev, Tevei, Shvat. Adar is the 7th month, not the 12th month from Nisan, but the 7th month from Tishrei. And the lottery fell out on what day? Yud Gimel Adar. And what day is Yud Gimel Adar? This is only something the Shviyah Pinchas uncover. Well, if you go 30, 29, 30, 29, 30, 29, that gets you to... right? That's 6 Tishrei, Cheshvan, Kislev, Tevei, Shvat. Adar, is the 6th month. So the 13th of Adar is day 161. How's that? Because 6 months is exactly 180 days minus 3. That's 177. Minus 16 for the last 16 days of Adar. That gets you to 161. Okay? 161. So you say, what's 161? Don't you know? With what name did God take the Jewish people out of Egypt? Moshe said, God, when the Jewish people asked me, what's your name? Moshe, Vayomer Layemel Moshe, Eya Asher Eya, Vayomer, Koyser Melech Yisrael, Eya Shalachani Aleichem. The name of God with which He took us out of Mitzrayim is Ekia. Aleph, then Hey, then Yud, then Hey. Now the gematria of Ekia is 21. However, if you write it out, b'miluai, Aleph spelled Aleph Lamed Pei, which is 111. Hey spelled Hey Yud, 15. Yud spelled Yud Vav Dalet, 20. Hey spelled Hey Yud, so that equals 161. Kuf Samach Aleph, 161. The name with which God took us out of Egypt is name 161. Ekia Asher Ekia, I will be with them, that I will be with them. I'm taking them out. Comes the Belzer Rebbe, and the Belzer Rebbe says, you remember the pasuk? V'samti fidus bein ani uvein amecha. I'm going to make a redemption and a separation between my people and your people. Who are my people? Yisrael. Yisrael equals 541. Mitzrayim is what? 380. What's the difference between 541 and 380? 161. Ekia. Hashem says, I'm going to take them out. V'samti pedus. I'll make redemption. How will I make redemption? Bein ami uvein amecha. The difference between my people and your people. My people are 541. Your people are 380. I will redeem you in the difference between my people and your people, which is Ekia, 161. So, since we believe that nothing in Judaism is coincidental, nothing is ever coincidental, and especially in Hashem's Hashgacha, there's a concept, Dvarim Gedolim Einam B'Mikra, no great things are coincidental. Why did God have it that the lottery should fall out on Yud Gimel Adar, which is day 161? Because that's the day, the holy day representing God's name with which He took us out of Mitzrayim.
Achashverosh knew that.
No, Achashverosh didn't know that, but God orchestrated that should fall out on that day so that it would bring protection to the Jewish people. Because 161 is a name of redemption. As we know, it's documented, that was the name with which God redeemed us from Mitzrayim. Now, I want to add that when Mordechai wanted to do tshuva, and he wanted to encourage Klal Yisrael to repent, he enacted that we fast when? On Pesach. Why on Pesach? It's as if he's like petitioning Pesach. Pesach! Didn't Ribbon Shalom redeem us on this Yom Tif with the name 161? Well, we need 161 to basically come through for us again. In other words, they're petitioning the Yom Tif of Pesach. They're saying, God, you already once redeemed us on Pesach with 161. Now we ask you to again use the Ekia, which is B'miluai 161, to redeem us once again. Okay, so it's an amazing thing. Who would have even calculated that Yud Gimel Adar is the 161st day in the year from Tishrei? Who would have even known what the significance of 161? That's the name God took us out of Egypt. However, Shivim Panim La Torah. There are 70 facades of the Torah, 70 perspectives. And the Shvili Pinchas certainly uncovered a great angle of Torah. But I would humbly suggest an alternative way to look at this. Because the Shvili Pinchas's Mahalach is assuming that Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshutz, when he says day 100 corresponds to Tammuz, he doesn't mean that. He means Teves. Because Haman started with Tishrei. And then when he says day 340 could work into Adar, he doesn't mean that. He means Elul. That's not what he says. And therefore I would humbly suggest that Nisan is the first month of the year. And if Nisan is the first month of the year, you're going to have to count what day after Nisan is Yud Gimel Adar. So Adar is the 12th month of the year. And how many days in the lunar year? 354. And what day is Yud Gimel Adar? 16 days before 354, which is what? What's 16 days before 354? 338. Shui nailed it. 338. How do you write 338 in Hebrew? Whoa. There's a lot of Miami's there. Wow, Reb Sender. Reb Chaim, you're there also. That's where everyone is. In Miami. You're listening?
Yeah, we're listening, yeah.
I think you have better menu than we have over here, it looks like.
We're eating and we're listening.
Okay, good. So, it's day 338. How do you write that in Hebrew? Shlach. 338. Okay, hold on to that. Now, when Haman made the lottery, the pasuk says, let's go back to the pasuk. We don't have it here. It says, Vayikaru Sofer HaMelech, the scribes of the king read, B'chodesh Harishon, on the first month, B'shloisha Asar Boi, Yom Boi, on the 13th day. Hu Chodesh Sivan. Every time the Megillah gives us a happening, it tells us the month and the day. The Megillah is very specific in describing and recording the exact month and day that things happened. It happened in Sivan on the 13th day, and Sivan on the 23rd day. And when Haman made the lottery, the pasuk says, Ba chodesh harishonu chodesh Nisan, in the first month, which is Nisan. But what day in Nisan? Don't say. So says the Sefer Shemen Rosh, we have a right to assume it was on the first day of Nisan. Oh, if it was on the first day of Nisan, and Haman cast lots on the first day of Nisan, and it fell out when Yud Gimel Adar. What day is Yud Gimel Adar? Like Shui said, 338, 16 days from the end of the year. Says the Shemen Rosh, and we're going to see who else says it. We could go back and answer the original question. Why does it say that Haman sent forth his hand? He didn't. He wanted to. No, it's a remez. Al asher sholach yadai. He put his hand on day sholach, day 338. That's what it means. Amazing remez. Sholach yadai. It was day 338. Now, this is the remez of the Shemen Rosh. But you could say further. Because remember we mentioned that when it comes to misappropriating an item, Beis Shammai says it's enough to think you want to misappropriate. And Beis Hillel says no, you have to actually misappropriate. So Im Kain, according to Beis Shammai, if you're sholeach yad on a pikadon, you're chayiv for your machshava. Yeah? Now the Jews were exiled. They're deposited in the hands of the Umayis Ha'olam. So they're like a pikadon. Haman is trying to harm them. He's sholeach yad. According to Beis Shammai, you're chayiv even for machshava. Now, even though we paskin like Beis Hillel, and we're going to come to this further, that's regarding Jews who we want to deal b'midas harachim, and we paskin like Beis Hillel. But with goyim, who we want to deal with them b'midas hadin, we're going to follow Beis Shammai shita. And lefi Beis Shammai, if somebody thinks to harm, that's already considered shlichus yad, and that's another reason it says shalach yadai. Because regarding how we view what a Gentile wants to do with us, we're going to paskin like Beis Shammai, that shlichus yad is even b'machshava. By the way, the Arugas Haboisem is also quoted as saying in his Chedushim on Purim, that's why it says Asher Shalach Yadai by Yehudim, because at least according to Beis Shammai, someone who is Choyshev L'shloyach Yad is Chayiv. Now, watch this. This is Mamish Oyam V'Noira. Comes of Moshe Tzalach, and Moshe Tzalach writes, Moshe Tzalach was a student of Rabbi Yehuda Fataya. You ever hear Rabbi Yehuda Fataya? Rabbi Yehuda Fataya was one of the great Sephardic Mikubalim. And yeah, you need something?
Yeah, I don't need to.
Okay. So Rabbi Yehuda Fataya is one of the Sephardic Mikubalim. Actually, he wrote very interesting Sfarim about reincarnation and dreams, and we've quoted in the past. He's buried on Har HaZeisim. My grandmother was buried quite next to him. He has a nice oyhel on Har HaZeisim. In fact, the story goes that when Hitler was approaching Eretz Yisrael to invade the end of the war, so many of the Gedolim went to be Mispalo, the Imrei Emes. The Beis Yisrael went to pray at Kever Rachel. And he comes to Kever Rachel, and he sees a man with a very snowy white beard, of a saintly looking man. He's crying. He says, "Who's that?" He said, "That's the Rif, Rabbi Yehuda Fataya." He's also known as the Rif, not to be confused with the Risha in the Rif. He said he never saw anyone pray like that. He said if Rabbi Yehuda Fataya was in Europe at the start of the war, there never would have been a Holocaust, the Rebbe said. With prayer like that, and ultimately Hitler, for a miraculous reason, was not able to invade Israel. And he quotes Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshutz that the lottery took place on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, and it extended for 338 days, till when? Yud Gimel Adar. And that is the secret meaning, because some ask, interesting question, why did Haman, why did he rejoice that the lottery came out in Adar? He said, because Moshe Rabbeinu passed away on Zayin Adar. So Haman, I have a great idea. Why don't you make the decree to annihilate the Jews on Zayin Adar? If you love Adar because of Zayin Adar, make the decree on Zayin Adar. The answer is he couldn't. The lot said 338. He had no wiggle room. So says Rav Moshe Tzalach, based on this is the secret of Al Asher Sholach Yodoi by Yehudim. Sholach Yodoi is a remez that he sent forth his hand to day Sholach, which is day 338. Now, comes the Kloisenberger Rebbe, and he says, the letter Yud in Kabbalah refers to machshava. Thought. That's an idea, a well-documented idea. So if you go back to the Pasuk, we mentioned that according to Beis Shammai, you're chayiv for shlichas yad, even if you just have machshava. So that's the pshat. Va'oisoi talu ala eis. Why was Haman hanged? Al asher shalach yadoi, because he sent forth his hand. But you'll ask, what do you mean? He only thought. By Yehudim, the extra yud represents machshava. He's being nailed because he had the thought. But you'll ask, what we paskin like Beis Hillel? Says the Kloisenberger Rebbe, an amazing idea, that regarding Purim, which we could say this two ways. First I'm going to say it my way, then I'll tell you his way. We've said many times in the Bnei Yissaschar that Purim is basically such an upside-down, topsy-turvy day, where when else do you see the tzaddikim leading the horse, and the tzaddikim on top of the horse, and the Rishonim leading the horse and having garbage poured on their head? It's only in the world to come. In this world, it's like tzaddik v'rale, rosh v'toivlai. But Purim is literally a day out of Olam Haba, the future. So regarding Purim, it's like the halacha is like Beis Shammai. That regarding the realm of Purim, we're going to pass on like Beis Shammai that you're chayiv for machshava. But the Kloisenberger Rebbe says, a little differently, that in the kinus of Tisha B'Av, we say, how can we rejoice on Purim so long as the Beis Hamikdash is not here, Mashiach hasn't come? Which means the main rejoicing on Purim is in the Achros Hayamim. And in that case, in the Achros Hayamim, we paskin like Beis Shammai. And therefore, that's why it says, Haman was nailed because he planned, because he was Sholeach Yad. He only thought to do so. That's the symbol of the extra Yud. And regarding Purim, we're going to nail somebody for the Machshava. By the way, let's just add one more point. Take a look at number 14 in the Sefer Birchas Yosef, Rabbi Yosef Buchritz. He also brings this idea that the day that fell out to annihilate the Jews, not like the Shvilei Pinchas, but in support of our approach, day 338. Now, Haman didn't know, though, how are you going to count day 338? Are you going to count from Nisan, or are you going to count from Adar? And that's why he made another lottery to choose the month of Adar. Now, says the Birchas Yosef, a beautiful remez. We know by the mitzvah of Shiluach HaKein, the pasuk says, Shaleach tishalech es ha'im v'es habanam tikach lach. Shalach tishalach es ha'im, send forth the mother. The mother refers to the Jewish people. Shalach, on day 338, tishalach es ha'im, God decreed to send out the Jewish people. But because we did tshuva, v'yes habanim tikach lach. Because we did tshuva, he took his children back to him. You hear the remez? Shalach, on day 338, to shalach esaim, he decreed to send forth the Jewish people. But because we did tshuva, v'yes habanim tikach lach, he took back his children. I would say a little different. You ready for this? Shalach, on day 338, to shalach, he sent us out. However, es ha'im v'es habanim tikach. But then you know what God did? He sent the aim. Who is the aim? The aim are always the redeemers of the Jewish people. Says the Baba of a Rebbe. Shalach to shalach es ha'im. 3 times in history we were redeemed. From Egypt, Aaron and Moshe, ha'im. From Purim, Esther and Mordechai, ha'im. La'asad lavai, Eliyahu, Mashiach, ha'im. Shalach to shalach es ha'im. God, send Aaron and Moshe, send Esther and Mordechai, send Eliyahu and Mashiach, v'yes habanam tikach lach, and take your children to yourself. So on day 338, he sent us out, but then to shalach es ha'im, he sent Esther and Mordechai, v'yes habanam tikach lach. Now, that's approach number 2. So we have the Shvilei Pinchas, that he started the lottery on Rosh Hashanah, and it would land on Yud Gimel Adar, which is day 161, Kuf Samach Aleph, V'samti Pedus Bein Ani U'Bein Amecha. We have our approach, which is day 338, starting from Rosh Chodesh Nisan. And then I came across something out of this world. I could not stop thinking about that this week. I didn't know where it was going to come in. And hopefully, Yvon Sham should lead us in the right direction. I realize this is not the only time in this week's Parsha we have the expression, Shalach Yadai. At the end of the Parsha, it says that the nobles of Klal Yisrael, the Zakenim, were gazing at God. And they were eating. And they were drinking. And God should have punished them. V'yalatzile b'nei Yisrael Loi shalach yadai. God did not send forth his hand against the nobles of Klal Yisrael, even though vayechzu es ha'elokim, they were staring at God, vayechvishla, eating and drinking. You like that, Ha'ara? Only thing is I gotta mute you. Sorry. Isn't it telling that twice in the Parsha it says Loi shalach yadai? It says by misappropriating a pikada, and you have to swear that you were Loi shalach yadai. And it says that the elders of the nation gazed at God and they ate and drank, and God did not punish them. Haman was shalach yadai against the Jews, and the nobles in the Parsha, lo shalach yadai. And I'm looking, does the Balaturim say there's a connection? No, nobody says anything. Until I found Rav Shlomo Kluger says there's a connection between the oath that you're lo shalach yadai b'mlechas reyehu and vayechzu es alikim vayochel yishtu ve'alatzil b'nei yisrael lo shalach yadai. But what's the connection? And then I discovered a Sfas Emes. Now I will tell you that Be'ezus Hashem next year, I have a whole thing up my sleeve. But the reason I'm not telling it to you this year is because it's relevant to a leap year. Next year is going to be a leap year. Because this whole thing changes then. The Yerushalmi says the Purim story happened in a leap year. Which means that even though it was supposed to happen on Yud Gimel Adar Aleph, which is day 338, Pashab Shan Yerushalmi is Mordechai pushed it off 30 days to day 368. So I have a shiur prepared on the significance of day 368, but it's better for a leap year, so let's save it for that. This year we're in a regular year. We're going to still work with Shalach 338. We have Rabbi Yehuda Fataya who learned that way, and the Shem and Rosh learned that way, and we humbly would like to learn that way as well. And the Sfas Emes says, let's look at this pasuk in number 17. God did not send forth his hand against the nobles. Why in the world would God punish the nobles? Oh, right. They gazed at God, and they ate and drank. Pasuk's backwards. It should say, the nobles, they ate and drank, but God didn't punish them. Why would it say, the nobles God didn't punish? Why would he punish them? Oh, right, because they ate and drank and they gazed at him. It's a backward pasuk. Also, anybody ever come across the word atzile? How many times in Chumash do you have the word atzile? It's the only time. In fact, the Gemara in Megillah says that when the Chachamim translated the Torah for Talmai, they changed this word. We just had in the beginning of Megillah, yeah? They didn't translate it. So where else do we have atzile? There's a concept that the highest olam in the highest world is olam ha'atzilos. The world that is hewn out from the glory of God himself. V'yal atzile b'nei Yisrael. Now, how many hours is Shabbos? 24 hours. The Arizal writes in many places that conceptually Shabbos' sanctity extends 31 hours. We've mentioned this in the past. Does that mean you have to not do malacha 30? But the Kedusha of Shabbos, it expands an hour of Tosfos Shabbos, and then 3 hours before and 3 hours later. 31 hours. Lamed Aleph Sha'is. The Arizal says that through the 31 hours of Shabbos, the name of God, the first name of God of the 13 Midas Harachmim is Kael. Through the 31 hours of Shabbos, we're Zoicha to the 31, to the name of Kael, which is the first name of Hashem. And even though during the week, the Sitra Achra is Linachash, on Shabbos we change it into our Shulchan. Linachash could be read Shulchan. By eating on Shabbos, by enjoying the Shabbos, by recognizing on Shabbos that everything belongs to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and of course, like we said last week, singing Zmiros on Shabbos, if you attach Aleph, which is God, to your Shulchan, you get Shulchan is 388, plus 1 is Shofet. God elevates you, Elokim Shofet, Zeyashbel v'Zeyarim. Rabbi Justman, I believe is a Gerach Chassid, so we have to say over from the Sfas Emes. Now, we have the Koyach of Shabbos. The Koyach of Shabbos helps us transform Melin Nachash, and it turns it into our Shulchan. Why? Because on Shabbos, we have a neshama from Atzilos, from the highest realm. Our neshama on Shabbos comes from the Olam HaAtzilos. Olam HaAtzilos, there are 4 worlds. There's the Olam HaAtzilos, Bria, Yetzira, Asiya. Each one of these four worlds corresponds to another letter of Yud Kei Vav Kei. The letter Yud is Atzilus, the secret of Chachma. Now, this is what it means. V'yalatzile b'nei Yisrael. Klal Yisrael were on the Madrega of Atzilus. Why? Because of Shabbos. And therefore, if we're on the Madrega of Shabbos, Loi, through the 31 hours of Shabbos, Loi shalach yadai. God could not punish us. Loi shalach yadai is gematria Nachash 358. Well, Loi, think of it this way. Excuse me, Shalach Yadai is 358. Shalach Yadai is 358. Shalach is 338 and Yadai is 20. Shalach Yadai is the Nachash. We read the pasuk this way: V'yalatzile b'nei Yisrael. Because on Shabbos, Klal Yisrael were elevated to the Madrega of Atzilus. How? Through the 31 hours. Loi Shalach Yadai. Because of that, we were able to overcome the Nachash. We were able to come, so like this, VL, through the 31 hours of Shabbos. Atzile b'nei Yisrael, we reached the Madrega of Atzilus. And therefore, Loi Shalach Yadai, the Nachash had no dominion over us. And we were able to eat and drink and gaze at God, and it was not harmful. By the way, the Arizal says, we say in Musaf on Rosh Chodesh or on Shalosh Regalim, we say, says the Arizal, there's a window in heaven called Zihara. That's where the Sitra Achra is. And there's a hand there that's bent over. And when the Sitra Achra is strong, the hand stretches out and it destroys the bias. But says the Arizal, on Shabbos we're protected from that yad. On Shabbos, V'yalatzile b'nei Yisrael, we're on the Madrega of Atzilus, Loi Shalach Yadai. We have we are not susceptible to the Nachash. Shalach Yadai is the Nachash. How? Through the 31 hours of Shabbos. Through the 31 hours of Shabbos, we have Kale of the first Midas Harachamim. Now the 31 hours of Shabbos ends by Shalashudas. And by the way, if you have 13 Midos Harachamim, each one Keneged one of the Yud Kei Vav Keis, 13 times 26 is also Shalach 338. So the meaning is like this: V'yalatzile b'nei Yisrael. Klal Yisrael, in the end of the Parsha at Har Sinai, they were on the Madrega of Atzilus. By the way, why Atzilus? It was Shabbos. Everyone agrees the Torah was given on Shabbos. So they're Madrega of Atzilus, VL through the 31 hours. And therefore, Loi Shalach Yadai, the Nachash had no dominion. And by Yechzu Es Elokim, on Shabbos, you could come close to God through eating and drinking. But now, Marv Rabbi say, I think this opens up yet another dimension of the Pasuk. Haman was hanged. Why? Al Asher Shalach Yadai. Shalach Yada is Gematria Nachash. Haman tried to Nachash us. Don't Chazal say in the Gemara in Chulin, Haman min haTorah minayin? Shenemar, Hamin ha'etz. What Haman tried to do to Klal Yisrael is he tried to arouse the sin of the Eitz Hadas like the Nachash. So Shalach Yada is a remez, the Haman co-opting the power of the snake. It didn't say he wanted to be Shalach Yadai. He is Shalach Yadai. He's the embodiment of the snake. So how did we overcome him? The Gemara says in Masechta Megillah that what saved Klal Yisrael in the times of Purim? Ba'yoim ha'shavi, k'toiv leiv ha'melech, ba'yoim, the Gemara says it was the seventh day. And the Jewish people, what were they doing on the seventh day of Achashverosh's party? It was Shabbos. And while the nations of the world were eating and drinking and speaking about lewd matters, Klal Yisrael was having the Shabbos Suda, and they were saying Divrei Torah, and they were enjoying the Zmiros. So they were now on the Madrega of the El Atzile. And when you have a neshama from Atzilus, you're impervious to what? The Nachash. And what letter of the Aleph Beis represents the world of Atzilus? The letter Yud. That's why, in the context of Haman being the Nachash, Asher Sholach Yodai, the word by Yehudim is spelled with an extra Yud. So we have two pshatim why there's an extra Yud. One, the Kloisenberger Rebbe, because Haman was punished for his machshava, like the Shita Beis Shammai, and we're saying that the same way at the end of the Parsha, V'yel Atzilei B'nei Yisrael, where on Shabbos, where you have a neshama from Atzilus, you're impervious to the Nachash and the Sitra Achra, and the Yad HaNishtalcha has no dominion, because we're Zoicha Tekel through the 31 hours of Shabbos. So Asher Sholach Yado is 358. Haman was utilizing the Nachash, but we were impervious to the Nachash. Because by Yehudim we had the Yud of Atzilus, the Koyach of Shabbos. By the way, one of the reasons why the Minhag Yisrael is to smell for Havdalah, Hadassim, is to commemorate Esther in connection to Shabbos, because the pasuk says, the Beis Yosef says, number 23, Tachas Hasirpad Yale Hadas, which refers to Esther, and juxtaposed to that is Shomer Shabbos Mechalaloi. But according to what we're saying, it comes out very beautiful that the reason why Esther had ascendancy is through the power of Shabbos. Bayoyim Hashvi Ketov Lev HaMelech Bayoyin. In fact, the Molei HaOmer says, Bayoyim Hashvi Ketov Lev HaMelech Bayoyin. It was the seventh day, and God was besimcha over our Yayin of Kiddush. So Shabbos is what defended the Jewish people. And just like on Har Sinai, even though we ate and we drank, but we were impervious to the Nachash, because we had Atzilus, in the times of Mordechai and Esther also, even though we were Nene from the Suda, but it was Bayoim Hashvi, Ketov Lev HaMelech Bayoyin. And in such a circumstance, you could be Vayechsu es Elikim Hayochlu, Vayishtu, V'yalatzilei B'nei Yisrael Lo Shalach Yodai. Purim was a fruition of Yalatzilei, we're on the Madrig of Atzilos, and therefore Lo Shalach Yodai, Haman, who was the Nachash, had no power over us. Marv Rabbi, wishing everyone a wonderful evening. Bez Hashem, tomorrow night already is Chodesh Adar. Yishenichnas Adar Mar B'Simcha. We should be Zoicha to a Chodesh of Simcha, the Sasain, La Yehudim, Mishtav, V'Yom Tov. Thank you so much for listening. Shkayach.
Is there a fundamental logic to why...
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.